You know the scene. We've all been there, right? You're at some event, you've got a drink in your hand, and you're trying to make a real connection. And what do? We almost always lead with the exact same question. But what if I told you that one single, seemingly harmless question is actually sabotaging your conversations before they even get off the ground? Let's break down why and what to do instead.
Yep, you know the one. So what do? It feels totally natural, right? It seems like the most efficient way to get a quick snapshot of a person. But this question, our default go-to opener, it's not a bridge. It's more like a brick wall. It's the reason so many of our interactions just become, well, instantly forgettable.
And that's really the hard truth of it, isn't it? This question doesn't just fail to build a connection, it pretty much slams the door shut on one. You're taking this complex, interesting human being and asking them to cram themselves into a tiny box, a single data point. And from there, the conversation just dies.
So let's really diagnose this. What is actually going on when we ask this question? Why does it so consistently suck the life out of a potential conversation?
This right here, this gets to the absolute core of the problem. When you ask, what do, you're not asking about the person. You're collapsing their entire identity into a job title. You immediately frame the whole chat around roles and status, not about genuine interest. You're asking for a label, not a story.
And here is the huge mistake we all make. We think knowing someone's job title creates clarity and therefore impact. We assume knowing what someone does tells us who they are. But what actually matters, what creates a real, memorable connection, is something else entirely.
So what do people actually remember about you? It's definitely not a static title. They remember the dynamic stuff. You know, the context around what you're working on, the specific challenge you're wrestling with at that moment, the thing you're genuinely curious about, or the big problem you're trying to solve. That's where all the interesting stuff lives.
Okay, so we've identified the problem. But the great news is, the solution isn't some complicated conversational trick. It's actually a really simple, really elegant shift in the words you use that can completely reframe the entire interaction for the better. The old way puts people on the spot, forces them into a box. But this new way, it opens a door. We're retiring, so what do? And replacing it with something that feels totally different. It's an invitation, not an interrogation. And this is the key difference. The new question invites an explanation, not a category. You stop asking for a boring, pre-packaged label, and you start asking about what's actually exciting them or challenging them right now. You're asking for a story.
All right, let's get practical. How do we actually use this in a real conversation? Because it's not just about asking the right question, right? It's also about being ready to give a great answer when someone asks you.
This is a perfect framework for your own answer. So instead of just defaulting to your title, try leading with a phrase like one of these. It immediately gives context and signals that you're in the middle of something interesting. It is so much more engaging than just saying, I'm a project manager.
So just think of your answer in these two simple steps. First, you're signaling your direction, where you're going, not just your current status. And second, you're giving context instead of a title, which makes it incredibly easy for the other person to find something to grab onto and ask a natural follow-up question.
Okay, we've covered the why and the how. Let's wrap all this up into a super clear, simple action plan that you can literally put into practice before your very next networking event.
Here it is, your new playbook. 2 easy steps. First, prepare. Before you even walk out the door, just take 2 minutes and craft 1 sentence about what you're focused on right now. The key is, don't mention your job title. Second, replace. When you meet someone new, just ask about their focus. That's it. That's the whole trick.
And the result of this tiny change? It's massive. Your conversations are immediately going to feel easier, more human. And because they're rooted in what's happening now, in real challenges and curiosities, they become so much more memorable. And in the fast-paced world of networking, trust me, that difference matters more than you think.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. The next time you walk into a room to meet new people, you've got a choice. Are you going to be just another forgettable job title, or are you going to be an interesting topic of conversation? The choice is all yours.